since I posted a video about this car, the M5. And I think, you know what, it's about time. I should probably make some more content about the M5, but I just couldn't find a topic. So I haven't really been driving it. Been driving it maybe, I don't know, every 2 weeks. Nothing major. I haven't done any road trips in it yet, so just didn't make any videos. But now I do kind of have the kind of perfect video that I can make, because this car is going to be repainted, which means it'll be going away for, who knows, maybe, if I'm lucky, 2 months or maybe 3 months, because you've seen the state of the paint of this car. When I first got it, it's pretty horrible, and through some painstaking polishing with my friends in one of the videos I posted, which ended up getting quite a lot of views, the paint is somewhat presentable now from maybe 3 to 5 meters away. If you keep your distance, the car looks kind of clean, but when you look close, you can tell this paint is, you know, it needs to go. It needs to be repainted. It's a tired car. And one reason why I decided to repaint this car is because I want to keep this car. There aren't that many cars that I would like to keep for a very, very long time, but this is one of them. And it's very strange because this car doesn't do anything particularly well. If you look at all the individual characteristics of this car, none of it really stands out. But there's something about the E34 M5 that it's really hard to put into words. It's the way that it drives. It's the way that it makes you feel when you drive it that I really like. It's one of those cars that, you know, you wouldn't want to take on the track. You wouldn't want to push it so hard in the mountain roads. But it makes you feel good when you drive it. It's a car that's meant to be a sport saloon, but it's not that sporty, at least in the modern day. Pretty sure a Honda Civic can run rings around this car on the track. So what is it that I find myself so attracted to about this car? Well, it's not the paint, that's for sure, because the paint on this is terrible. But it is the way that the controls feel. I really like the controls of this car. Like I said, it doesn't really stand out, but the cohesiveness of all the controls just makes you feel so good when you're driving it. Every control is weighted just the right way and consistently throughout the car as well. All the controls, like even the shifter has this great ping to it when you put it into the gears. It's so pleasurable to shift in this car. It's not that precise. If you look at it, it's kind of wobbly as well, but it's a great feeling when you shift down or even shifting up. I don't know. But of course, the biggest thing about this car is the engine, the S38 B36. My car has a 3.6, but if you are a regular viewer of my channel, which there aren't many, you will know that I have installed a Link ECU, a standalone ECU on this car with individual coils, and thus kind of transformed the car. It's a lot more reliable. If I'm feeling generous, if I want to spend money on fuel, I can daily this. It hasn't had any issues being stuck in traffic. I was stuck in some of the worst traffic ever in this car and did not overheat. The temperature, the water temp just stayed right near the middle. The oil temp would be around 90 something. It's perfect. Going back to this engine is, of course, is the highlight of the car. The E34 M5, you know, converting a standard E34 to M5, there really isn't that many unique components in the M5. It's not like the modern M's where even the suspension is completely different. All the wishbones are different. The E34 is, you know, it's basically, the M5 is basically just with a bigger engine in it, with the S38, and the suspension pretty much remained the same. Of course, they can change the shock absorbers and the springs, and also the anti-roll bars, but the suspension components are pretty much the same. And so what you have here is kind of a luxury sedan with a race engine in it, and in theory it doesn't seem like it should work, because the race engine is a high revving engine where you really gotta rev it out. You gotta go past maybe 3.5 to 4,000 before this engine really starts to come alive. Below that, it feels kind of lazy, even though during the lazy phase, it's actually a very pleasurable driving experience. As you can tell right now, I haven't revved it past 4,000 yet because the engine is still warming up, and this car takes forever to warm up. But even during the warm-up stage, I'm having so much fun just piloting this car. Excuse me, I gotta turn on the GPS.
You are on the best route despite some traffic. You will arrive at 11:11.
11:11, nice. So when it's warming up, I'm just short shifting, and it's a really pleasurable driving experience driving it slow like this, because of the driving inputs, which I did mention. All the driving inputs in this car, although none of them particularly good, they just work so well together that it kind of transforms your mindset when you're driving this car compared to driving something modern where all the inputs are lighter. Having heavy inputs is just, it feels like you are driving with purpose, you know. It's a good feeling. So this engine is basically the main character of this story. This engine is so characterful that I honestly think this is one of the best engines I've ever experienced. And when I say best engine, let me say it's not objectively the best engine, okay? Because there are a lot of engines that are much better than this. For example, the S65 in the E92 M3 series, the V8, that has a much more progressive linear powered delivery. But this engine has so much character that even though it's not perfect, I feel like its flaws are what makes it feel so special to rev out. And all these noises, you can hear everything. You can hear the valve train, you can hear the intake, paired with the exhaust, which this car is still on its stock exhaust, just sounds so great all together. It's such a wonderful package to experience. When you're driving, you can feel the presence of the engine at all times, and that's not something even a modern M car can say, being all turbocharged and stuff. noises that it makes is kind of hypnotic. So it doesn't add stress to your driving experience. It kind of just hypnotizes you. It calms you down. Perhaps this is a feeling that only car nerds can agree with. I think most people would just be like, what is this drone? But, you know, these kind of things take conditioning. I feel like when I'm driving this car, I'm focusing so much on the car, because every part of the car has such a strong presence to it that all my senses are just focusing on the car, and of course the road as well. Some cars, when you drive it, it's so instinctive, so easy that you don't feel the presence of the car anymore, and so you can divert all of your attention to the road and what's going on the road. But in this car, it's a big part of your attention is split between the road and the car, and because of that, it's not particularly the best car to go fast in, but it is such a great car to just clear your mind with. When you're driving this car always clears your mind. Sometimes when I have a really stressful work day, I just decide to drive this car out to the airport. It's like a 30-minute drive and back, and by the time I come back, I feel refreshed. And when I drive to the airport, I don't even drive fast. I'm just feeling the car, listening to the engine, and just enjoying the whole mechanical experience of operating all these controls and the feedback that's coming back from the engine mainly, and the exhaust.
In 500 meters, continue straight.
Even the interior noises that this car makes, it's not quiet. You hear all these squeaks, but it's the noise that you get when you get leather rubbing against each other. It's like a kind of like a rubbery, squeaky noise, and it's a nice noise. It's a noise of quality. So this video is kind of just a love letter to this car, because even though it's not perfect, I love it every single way. I love the way that it looks even. It looks great, and I cannot wait for the new paint. And guess what? I'm not gonna paint it black. No. It's gonna be British Racing Green. How great is that? Let's listen to some exhaust. So first we have let's downshift to second. And that's all we get, because we're in Bangkok and the traffic is terrible. Complaints. What complaints do I have? Okay, there is one major complaint that I do have with this car, and it's the gearing. The gearing on this car is absolute horseshit. I have to say it. It's so long, and it's not just long. Like the gap between gears is just weird. From second to third is such a big gap that it's almost very difficult or near impossible to get a third to second downshift smoothly. And you know, if you're driving in the mountains, there are going to be a lot of corners where you are going to have to shift from third to second before entering. And in this car, it's just so difficult. I know that you can do gearbox swaps. I can't remember from which to which, but something I'm looking at. But you know, I don't really need to drive this car fast, so I'll leave it maybe as one of the final things that I do, changing the gearbox maybe to a 6-speed or the other 5-speed. I think the one that's used in the 540i, I think that one has shorter gear ratios. I mean, third gear gets you to, I think, 160 kilometers per hour. That's insane. I started nerding out and keeping Excel page of all the gear ratios of all the cars that I am quite familiar with, and this car came out on top in terms of the longest and least ideal gear ratios. So maybe I'll share a screenshot of that right now. The car with the shortest gear ratio, which I'm familiar with, is actually the FD2 Civic Type R. And that's one of the reasons why I love the car so much, is the gear ratio is just so nice and tight. So since we're entering heavy traffic, I think I'll end the video here. I hope that maybe in the next video I will give you guys some update about the paint job. And of course, when the car is done, I will make another video of the car, maybe something a bit more cinematic. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think British Racing Green is a good color for this car? It's not a factory color, so you know, there will be some people who are against it, but I just love British Racing Green. It's one of my favorite colors, and I think it will look absolutely fantastic on this body, the E34. Okay, so thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.